Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
There's a few things that happen these days that I like to think of as frivolous, meaning that they don't amount to a whole lot, but if you want to do them, you can. But of course, if they go sideways, if bad things happen as a result, then you look at it and go, wow, was that worth it? And one of those, of course, would be your gender reveal party. Those became a big thing a few years ago, and people put on these insane displays as if the world cares that much about the gender of their impending child. And we've heard of disasters at those, which is ironic, celebrating a new life by ending one of your own. So that's not what I'm talking about here. Today I'm talking about a promposal that went wrong. And that is, of course, where somebody wants to invite someone to the prom, and they put on a huge display or do a stunt or do something that could go viral on TikTok. And here's one where a Chandler student seriously injured in a promposal gone wrong has filed a potential lawsuit asking for $1 million against the school. Now, there's a lot to unpack there because it says a potential lawsuit. How do you file a potential lawsuit? Well, in many states, before you sue the government, and sometimes other entities, you must send them a notice of your intent to sue them. And you have to do that first. And there's a couple different reasons they can ask to do that. But also asking for $1 million. Anytime you see a lawsuit that says, we're suing and we want $3 billion, most courts simply say to get into the court, you have to plead above or below a certain amount. Is your claim above $25,000? Then you're in circuit court, that kind of thing. $50,000, $75,000, whatever it might be. But when they say, no, we want $1 million, they're often doing that for headlines. So keep that in mind. But the author of this article from 12news.com is Chase Golightly. A promposal at a Chandler high school ended with a student seriously injured in a crash on campus. Now that student is preparing to file a lawsuit against the school district and the city for not stopping the promposal because not only do they have notice of it, allegedly, but allegedly they were in on it. So last April at Arizona College Prep High School, a senior was just leaving school for the day after classes. He was on, it says here a motorcycle, but I think it may have been a small, like a scooter or something. But he was going through a campus intersection when another student driving a Porsche sped through a stop sign and crashed into him, sending him into the air. And it's frightening. The video is online. A security camera caught the whole thing. And the kid on the motorcycle had the right of way. The Porsche did not. The crash was so significant that it caused the car's airbags to deploy. The man suffered multiple injuries, some of which he will have for the rest of his life, according to his attorney, who's now representing him. And she said this was not an accident. It was actually a dangerous plan. According to the notice of claim, the student driver of the Porsche planned to ask a girl to the prom. But you can't just ask somebody to the prom these days. You got to do a whole promposal. What? Next thing you tell me that gender reveal parties aren't fun. Both were in the car when the crash happened. The document claims the plan was for them to speed through the stop sign and get pulled over by a waiting school resource officer. And while making it look like the student was in trouble, he was planning on pulling out a poster to ask her to the dance. Because he couldn't just say it. And this is you got to stop and think about this. He couldn't just ask her to dance. He's got to pull out a poster. Because, of course, the poster photographs better than the words coming out of his mouth. This is all for social media. What wasn't taken into account in the plan was traffic having a right of way at that intersection. So, according to the lawyer, the student driver was going faster than 40 miles per hour when he ran the stop sign. And so her client very easily could have died in the accident by just milliseconds difference in timing. Now, that's an interesting point, but, all kinds of things could have happened. You can't sue over what could have happened. You sue over what actually did happen. And the guy got hit and flung into the air and suffered injuries. The claim also alleges that the school resources officer and the principal were aware of the plan and agreed to it. Security and body camera footage shows both of them sitting in the police cruiser nearby in the moments before the crash. So if you watch the video, the Porsche's going this way, the scooter's coming this way, and the school resources officer's vehicle just happens to be right here. Just happened to be right there. The same court paperwork claims that the SRO, resource officer, said he did not know the student would speed through the stop sign. Officer claimed he thought it would be a slow roll through the stop sign. The school principal also said he was not aware of the plan. He claimed the reason why he was in the cruiser was to discuss an unrelated matter. He just happened to be there. The teen driver disputes both the principal and the SRO's accounts. The attorney obtained the driver's statement to Chandler Police, which showed he told investigators that he discussed the plan with the school resource officer and school administration ahead of time, and that they all agreed to it. So the attorney is asking for a settlement of $1 million to drop this now against the Chandler Unified School District, the city of Chandler, the school resource officer, and the school principal. So the $1 million here is actually an offer. They're saying, look, you can pay us $1 million and we'll go away. But if they file a lawsuit, they might ask for more, presumably. So now the attorney says that her client sustained a traumatic brain injury. He's been emotionally very harmed by the incident. I believe he was wearing a helmet. I believe he was. But if you see him get flung into the air, you'd understand, okay, the helmet's only going to do so much in that accident. The potential lawsuit, at least as of now, does not go after the teen driver of the Porsche. The attorney said they're currently working on a separate claim against him. And now that makes sense because in real life, that's the most liable person here. I mentioned before I had a professor once who had us chanting in class, you can always sue the tortfeasor. And if there's a tort, that is where somebody's committed a wrong against you, not criminally but civilly, such as negligence or something, the person who did it is always on the hook. And then it goes up the chain of command if there is, in fact, a chain of command. So, a police officer who does something against you, you might be able to sue him and his department, maybe his supervisor, but that's the guy you can always name. Now, I've seen situations where the people upstream have deeper pockets and people skip suing the tortfeasor. And you have a problem with that because you go to trial, there's a jury right here, there's a judge up there, and you're sitting there and you're suing the defendants, and the person who did it's not there. And you better believe the defense attorney is going to get up in an opening statement and say, by the way, just to let you know, they didn't sue the guy who did it. They sued everybody else, but not the guy who did it. He's the one who's on the hook here. Where is he? And they often would jokingly call it the empty chair defense. They'd often point to an empty chair and go, there you go, right there. That represents the guy who did it. He ain't here. Now, I'm not saying it's what's happening here. I'm pointing this out as a possibility, as something you have to think about as an attorney or a potential attorney or people who like to think like attorneys, okay? So they are currently working on a separate claim against him. And also keep in mind that if the kid with the Porsche had insurance on that Porsche, that insurance would kick in. And in many states, the insurance claims are so convoluted that they're quite different than the claims against other people. So I know in Michigan, for instance, our no fault would cover this, and it would just be a mess. The student was not ticketed for the incident. A spokesman for the police department said the crash happened on private property and was an accident, and state traffic laws are not enforceable there. They declined to comment on the notice of claim, and neither did the school district. And so that's an interesting argument. I don't know the exact status of the Arizona College Prep High School, but the question is, they really can't enforce the law on that parking lot because it's private property? Because it sounds like it's run by a school district that has something to do with the city. And I've mentioned before that even on private property, the police often can write tickets. There's often just something in the law that says to write tickets on private property, you must have the certain things where the signs are correct, mounted a certain way, and an arrangement with the governing body. And so I'm surprised that the police can't write tickets on this school property because right now, every kid who goes to school goes, really? I can go and do donuts all day long? And I might get suspended. I might get a slap on the wrist and do detention. I have to come to school early and clean chalkboards. But no tickets, no reckless driving tickets, presumably. But here's the real problem, and this is idiotic on every level. Slice into it, it's idiocy all the way through. Okay, quite thick idiocy. Let's back up to the very beginning. Kid has this idea and goes, I want to get pulled over by a cop with the girl in the car. And when the cop pulls us out, I'm going to whip out this poster and say, will you go to the prom with me? Now, the kid's stealing the idea, first of all, because I've seen the video of the guy who proposes to a woman after being pulled over by a police officer who's in on the joke. And so the guy gets in his car, he's driving down the road, police officer pulls him over, and the police officer goes through the whole shtick. You, get out of the car, come up here. And then he walks back to the woman's side passenger side, you, get out of the car. And now she's, whoa, what's going on here? And of course, she walks up there, and the cop's like all gruff and stuff, and all of a sudden the guy kneels, pops open, will you marry me? And then, of course, now she's gone from being utterly horrified to being, oh, the guy's proposing to me. And I'm not sure why people think that'd be entertaining for the people involved. If you ask that woman who got proposed to, is that the way you want the proposal to go down? Now, if she's a social media person, she might go, yeah, I got 17 million views. Of course, I love it. She's probably deep down going, but it would have been nicer, like, I don't know, at a restaurant or at some place that we go to as our private little place. And so this idea has been done before, but the point here is that the kid goes, I want to get pulled over by a cop on school grounds. Can you, the school resource officer, help me with that? He goes, yes, I can. Kid goes, okay, after school tomorrow at 4 o'clock, you're going to pull me over. Guy goes, sure, not a problem. I'll park on the parking lot. He goes, I'm going to run a stop sign, and you can pull me over for that. Now, here's where an adult should have raised their hand and said, that's not necessary. It's not necessary. Everyone is familiar with the concept of a police officer pulling you over and you don't know why. So all he had to do was say, where are you going to be parked tomorrow at 4 o'clock? And the officer could go, I'll park anywhere you want me to as long as it's on campus. Okay, park near that intersection. Okay? And then I'm going to pull up to that intersection, drive through the intersection after coming to complete stop at the stop sign, and you're going to pull out and pull me over. And I'm going to be like, why'd you pull me over? And then you can say, get out of the car. Drag me around the front of the car, and then drag her out of the car. And for 30 seconds, she'll be in sheer terror, but that's okay because this is all for social media. And then I'll whip out the poster and say, will you go to the prom with me? And someone's going to film it. Don't worry, we'll get this all on film. Now, that's what the adult should have said we're going to do. I'll pull you over. When the kid says, you need a reason to pull me over, the school resource officer needs to go, son, no, we don't. We never do. We can pull you over whenever we feel like it. And so get used to being an adult and getting pulled over for no apparent reason. Okay? So when you get pulled over by me, you're going to pull over. And your girlfriend's not going to go, why are you pulling over? No. She's going to go, oh my gosh, we're in trouble. Which is the reaction you want, right? But the idea that the kid asked and apparently got agreement on, he says, I'm going to break the law in front of you and give you a reason to pull me over. It wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary. But also, can you really ask the people who enforce the laws, let me break a law so I can propose or do a promposal or whatever? That's bizarre. So let's assume that the SRO and the school district were not in on this. It was just a dumb thing the kid did by running a stop sign. Well, that would be stupid. But if he got their permission, that would be even stupider. Because they should look at the kid and go, no, we don't care that you have a Porsche at your age. We don't care. We don't care that you're about to ask out like the head cheerleader. We don't care. If you want us to play along with your little gag, we'll do that. It'll take 5 minutes of our time and it'll be good public relations. But tell you what, you come up with that stop sign and then you go and we'll pull you over. And trust me, she's not going to go, hey, something seems odd here. You haven't broken the law. Welcome to the adult world, children. So Chandler student seriously injured and promposal gone wrong. files potential lawsuit asking for $1 million against the school, and also is preparing the litigation against the driver of the car who ran a stop sign apparently on purpose and thought he had permission to do so he could ask someone to the prom. And no, nowhere in here does it tell us if she said yes. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. If you give a man a fish, he will eat for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he will sit in a canoe and drink beer all day.